Hey, what's up guys? I'm Josh, and you guys gave me an incredible amount of feedback on the last Audiophile build series that we did. That was the very first episode. I went over some pros and cons of that build system. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Today we're going to talk about an entirely different style of build, and this one is going to come in at a total of $800. And for all that, you get all this, all these headphones, the stand, and the amp and the DAC to pair with it. This is not necessarily designed to be the best bang for your buck. This is not necessarily designed to be the best sound at a specific price category. This is simply to provide some options and show you what you could spend your money on. So the benefits of this system are versatility. You get a lot of different options. You get a lot of really evenly capable devices that all have a specific sound signature of their own. There's a ton of flexibility with this. You can do gaming, you can do music, you can do movies, and you're gonna have options for everything. All right, so let's break this down and talk about everything and all the prices for all of this stuff and where I think you maybe could make some changes that might either save you a little bit of money or give you some alternative options. Okay, the DAC and amp that we're going to be using today is the Topping DX3 Pro. Thanks to my buddy Israel for letting me borrow this one. Okay, so it's $250, but you get both a DAC and an amp out of this. So this is an all-in-one unit. This is all you need, and it comes with everything that you need to run it because of the power cable, of course. And the power brick for this is notably pretty small. It's got a ton of different input options. It's got an RCA output if you choose to use it, but we're actually going to be running this entire system off of the 3.5 millimeter in the front. We'll talk about that more in a second. This has two coaxial inputs, one optical input and one USB input, as well as, and this is the kicker, Bluetooth. And you get all this in about 1 watt into 32 ohms, which is not the most amount of power for this price. But with these three headphones, you don't need a lot of power. And you get a ton of versatility. This even comes with a remote. So this thing at $250 is actually awesome for what we're using it for. Okay, so headphones, 560S, 400i 2020 version specifically, and the Fidelio X2HR. The 560 is the most expensive at $200 flat. This is $170, and this is about $150. This all totals to about $770 and $30 for a double headphone stand that I'm using as a triple headphone stand. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find this exact one, but I'll link something very similar to this in the description. Now, we're not running a balance system here because I believe the 560 is not balanced, and I know for sure the X2HR is definitely not balanced. There you can run balance off the 400i, but this has a 3.5 millimeter. And normally I would throw in an adapter in here, except the 560S actually comes with a 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter adapter for the stock cable that comes with both the 560S and the 400i. This would come with its own 3.5 to 3.5 millimeter cable. So for cables and connectivity, you're all set with what comes in the box of each of these. I don't think any of the cables are great that come with each of these, but they will work and they sound fine. So the name of the game for this system is flexibility, and it's massive flexibility. You get the clinical highs of the 560S. They're not at all sterile or boring, but they're very detailed. And for the cost, they're actually one of the best and most competitive headphones right now. This is pretty much the latest and greatest coming out of Sennheiser, and it's been critically acclaimed, honestly, including myself. This headphone is awesome. Don't expect a ton of mid-range presence, though the mid-range is good and it's got excellent sound staging, and don't expect a lot of bass response. That will be left for the X2HR. Then in the middle, you have kind of, I would actually consider this to be the most balanced headphone here. This is kind of like the middle of the road, decent amount of bass response, decent treble resolution, decent treble forwardness, decent mid-range forwardness, decent sound staging. In fact, all three of these headphones sound stage pretty well, the 560S probably being the best. But this headphone is a little bit different than the other two, being a planar magnetic headphone. You can kind of see it in there. This headphone is going to give you sort of a different take on the sound. It's going to be a little bit larger in scale than the other two, being dynamic drivers. The sounds are going to be a little bit broader, but it's got its own kind of feature set and things that it's good at and things that it's not good at. And then we go to the X2HR, which also has that. This is a little bit more V-shaped. It's got a little bit of a boost in the top end, a little bit of a boost in the low end. So a decent bit of treble, quite a decent bit of bass response. This is gonna be kind of your bassy rap music type of headphone. This might be your kind of sound staging type of headphone where you listen to orchestral things with a lot of sweet high end. And then this is gonna be your kind of do everything, jack of all trades, master of none sort of headphone. Now this one's probably the most demanding for power, but I still think that the DX3 Pro can handle the power requirements of this headphone just fine. This is a decently demanding planar, but not anything that topping can't handle. 560S and the X2HR are both very easy to drive. Now, one of the benefits of having multiple headphones, if you can afford them, is that you don't have to overuse one, and you can kind of take it easy on all of them by just constantly swapping in between. So your lifespan for these types of headphones is going to be like forever if you're swapping between three on a constant basis. Okay, so a couple questions. What would be the imbalance here between all of this equipment? I actually think that this is an extremely balanced system. See, $250 if you were just buying one of these, like you bought the 560S and then another $250 just on a DAC amp, it probably wouldn't be worth it. I think you could easily get away with something like a Shitfola if you just owned or just wanted one of these, and that's going to provide plenty of power. It's just going to be USB inputs, so simple inputs. It's not going to have Bluetooth, but it will get the job done, and it'll do it pretty well for pretty cheap. But this actually only representing about a quarter of the total cost of this entire system, and it's able to run everything really well and sound exceptional doing it with the kind of topping neutral house sound that this has, and have all the flexibility of all the inputs. I think the amp performance for all of this is very good. And then on the flip side, since you have so many options and so many headphones here, you have so many different takes on the music. You could listen to the same album 3 times and have entirely different experiences with each headphone. And that's got its own value towards itself. Okay, another question. Would you be better off buying 3 headphones or one really good headphone, say like a DT1990 for $500 something, or maybe like a Focal LX for about $600? And for me, that's kind of the difficult part. I think I personally would prefer an LX, but that's because I've heard an LX and I know the way that the LX sounds is something that really tailors to my preference. But I also do think that it's completely valid to prefer a bunch of different tastes and flavors of the sound for the same cost. And for some people, having the singular headphone is better for them, and then some people having multiple sets of headphones is better for them. I think it just depends on your personal preference here. I will say this though, if you're going to get something like an LX or like a 1990 or anything in that upper realm, you know, if you want to stretch a little bit for an LCD2C, something like that, you're probably going to want to spend a little bit more on your amplification. You don't have to with the LX specifically, but I think it would be recommended that you get something a little bit better than this. Okay, now I have some other options for flexibility of what you might want to do. So let's say you didn't want 3 headphones that all do the same thing. So you could sacrifice, let's say, the Fidelio X2HR, take $150 off the budget, and you could put that towards one of 2 other things. One of the things you could do is buy a nice pair of IEMs, and there's a lot of IEMs at $150 and under that are really exceptional. And they'll be able to be driven off this. This is a very quiet amp. It's got plenty of volume control for IEMs like this. This is a Moondrop Starfield, but you could do a ton of different things. You could do multiple pairs of the tins, some KZs, some blondes. I personally just think at about $110 that this is a great value IEM. Another option you could do is buy a gaming headphone. And this one's a little bit more than $150. This one's, I think, $170 or $180. 100% worth it. This headphone is excellent. The 560 being a full-scale audiophile headphone only, I think barely beats it out for sound quality. This thing sounds wonderful, but more impressively than that, I think this is actually the best gaming headphone for the money. And I've tried a lot of them. This thing is exceptional. It will be driven off of this just fine, but it should be noted, what you could do alternatively to this, if you do game a lot and you want to go down the gaming route, is get something like a Shithell instead of this. It's not going to have as many inputs, including the Bluetooth, so that won't be an option, but it will have the microphone input that will go straight to PC that this will send out. So if you spend a lot of time gaming, I'd probably get a Shithell. All right, so I think that's going to be it. This is going to be kind of the triple threat build. You have the X2HR, the 400i 2020, the 560S, and the topping DX3 Pro. And for $800, this is a killer system. You're going to hear a ton of different stuff. This, I think, is a great way to spend $800 in this hobby. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up. Now, a quick note here. I am going to do lots of different price ranges. I know $700 and $800 are very close, but I thought it was okay because of the vastly different styles of builds that they were, and hopefully you guys don't mind it. So let me know what you want to see in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, guys.